Welcome to the programme as we take a look at the French and Luxembourg BB12000, CC14100 and CFL3600 monocabine electrics at work in the late 1990s. We begin in one of their last remaining strongholds in northern France, close to one of their main depots situated at Lens. The locomotives could be seen working numerous freight trains in the area, and in particular here at Somain Yard, one of two serving the area around Lille. Heading through the complex on the 4th of September 1994 is BB12094, hauling a dead BB 16652. Shortly after, the locomotive is seen departing with a westbound freight bound for Lens. Number 12094 entered service on the 15th of February 1958 and was to remain in traffic for just another 9 months before being withdrawn on the 2nd of June 1994. At the west end of the yard we see 12145 heading a service for Grand Synth. The other large marshalling yard to serve the Lille industrial region was at La Delivrance, situated just to the west of the city. We see number 12031 heading south. 148 of the class were built between 1954 and 1961 by the builders MTE Alstom. When this picture was taken on the 4th of September 1994, 76 members of the class remained in traffic. La Delivrance typically dispatched most of its trains late in the evening or early morning. During the day it received mainly trip freights from around the area for remarshalling. Locomotive convoys to and from the servicing depot at Lens were commonplace. This trio, made up of 12146, 024 and 030, head for Lens on the 26th of August 1993. Another route which saw the class was towards the port of Dunkirk. Here 12086 hauls dead 16742 through Salzburg on the 26th of August 1993. Early on the morning of the 12th of May 1995, number 12125 heads through the closed station at Artres, east of Valenciennes, with a freight for Gremberg in Germany. This locomotive was one of the last to be switched off on the 28th of December 1999. Problems with the introduction of new class BB36000 tri-voltage electric locomotives resulted in a stay of execution for the class, which continued to see use in the Alsace and Nord-Pas-de-Calais regions of France. 44 freight diagrams existed for the class out of their home depot of Lens in late 1994. This is 12114 heading service number 44207 from Somain to Jeumont. Pairings with brand new tri-voltage BB36000 electrics were rare. Here number 12051 is hauled dead in train by 36006 on a service from Jeumont to La Delivrance on the 12th of May 1995. BB12100 entered traffic on the 18th of June 1958, before being retired on the 19th of December 1999. Here it leaves the station at Aulnoye, heading for the border station at Jeumont. On the 30th of July 1994, number 12038 heads across the road crossing south of Aulnoye station with a train for Somain. This is the border station at Jeumont, as BB12051 is seen entering the station from the south with its pantographs down before stopping with train number 44711 from Somain to Gremberg on the 12th of May 1995. The yard here can be energised either at the French 25 kV overhead system or the Belgium 3000 volts DC. It was common practice for electric locos to arrive with their pantographs down. The locomotive is seen gliding through the station before heading to the locomotive stabling point at Aulnoye, around 10 kilometres away. We now return to the yard at Somain, and we are overlooking the western departure lines, as 12061 heads a short freight out of the complex. The class were built for the newly electrified lines in the north and northeast of France in the mid-1950s. Originally they were a common sight on passenger trains, but were taken off such services by the BB16500s and BB16000 electrics in the early 1960s. Similar BB13000 and the heavy freight CC14000 and CC14100 versions were also a common sight in the same area. For a short period, the BB12000s could also be seen working in the Jura and Alpine regions, until newer electrics replaced them there. Number 12003 held the distinction of being the longest serving member of the class to remain in traffic. It was introduced into service on the 1st of March 1955, before being retired on the 26th of December 1999, a total of just over 44 years. The locomotive had another 5 years in traffic when this scene was taken on the 30th of July 1994. number 12137 was to remain in traffic for just another 4 months after this picture was taken on the 30th of July 1994. The class was extremely reliable and could be seen on all of the 25 kV electrified routes that carried freight. The locomotives worked down to Mulhouse, Chalindrey, northern Paris, as well as around Strasbourg, Metz and Thionville, and the routes radiating out of Lille. At the east end of the yard, a small depot was home to 12121 and 12037 on the 26th of August 1993, awaiting their next turns of duty. When first introduced, the class were put to work on services from Moran, Thionville, Strasbourg and Valenciennes depots. The class worked many of the freights seen along the Dunkirk to Thionville main line, which carried heavy flows of coal, iron ore and steel. They had a top speed of 120 km per hour and weighed between 82 and 86 tons, and had a power output of 2,470 kilowatts, or around 3,318 horsepower. Maximum tractive effort was measured at 353 kilonewtons. As well as the delay in the delivery of new locomotives, the class were also kept in traffic much longer than anticipated by an upsurge in French freight traffic. Moving a few kilometres to the west, we see BB12100 heading a train of empty hoppers towards Somain. Heading east is this trio of locomotives on their way to Jeumont from their home depot at Lens. Between 1958 and 1959, 20 Class 3600 locomotives were delivered to Luxembourg railways in order to work trains on their 25 kV overhead electrified network. This class of locomotive outlived their French counterparts and could be seen working passenger and freight services right up until the spring of 2005. We begin at one of the best places to see the class in action, at Bettenbourg station, around 7 kilometres to the south of the country's capital, on the route to Thionville in France. Seen heading north in May 1999 is the last of the class, number 3620. The locomotives had a higher horsepower output of 3,600 compared to their BB12000 sisters, which had around 3,300 horsepower. However, the 3600s were a mixed traffic design and thus had slightly different gearing, which reduced their maximum tractive effort to 186 kilonewtons. Number 3617 heads north on the 13th of May 1998. Just south of Luxembourg City, we see number 3612. Through freight services from Belgium were often hauled by the class between Luxembourg City to Bettenbourg or southwards towards Thionville. The French government supplied the locomotives to the country in order to open up the transport links in the heavily industrialised south to link into northern France and the Rhine Valley. The first 3 examples were delivered in a blue livery, with the last locomotive entering traffic in March 1960. The livery then changed to brown, before the later burgundy red with yellow lines was applied to all class members from 1972 onwards. Up to 11 of the class could be seen on passenger services during the day, hauling short rakes of Wegmann coaching stock. Outside of the peak periods, only 4 locomotives were needed to cover the reduced number of passenger diagrams. Number 3612 heads the 1454 from Luxembourg to Rodange. Most of their freight activity was focused on shuttling trains between the steelworks around Esch and Belval to the yard at Bettenbourg. This is number 3610. A kilometre further west and we catch 3617 on a loaded train from Belval-Usine on the 13th of May 1998. The marshalling yard at Bettenbourg was opened in October 1982 and replaced a number of smaller yards at Wasserbillig, Esch, Belval-Usine and Dudelange. Number 3617 is seen here once more on the 17th of May 2001. After withdrawal, this locomotive was finally scrapped in March 2005. Towards the west of the station, the southern main line heads towards Esch-sur-Alzette. Number 3608 is seen leaving Bettenbourg Yard with train number 36945 from Bettenbourg to Belval-Usine. One thing to note here in this shot of number 3605 at Bertram is the fact that the driver sits 90 degrees to the direction of travel, with his back to the side window. The electrification of the northern line from Luxembourg to Trois-Vierges was completed in 1993 and provided a new route for the class to work on. On the 13th of May 1998, number 3607 slows for the stop at Chiren, with the 1749 from Luxembourg to Ettelbruck. After arriving with a 2019 departure from Luxembourg, number 3612 heads light engine out of Trois-Vierges before heading south to take up freight duties at Bettenbourg. Electrification of many of the country's main rail routes, as well as a number of branch lines, took place between 1956 and 1961, including to here at Wasserbillig, close to the border with Germany. This station also acts as a terminus for local trains originating from Luxembourg. Here we see number 3619 with the 1518 service from Luxembourg City. At the west end of Woippy Yard, we see 3617, which has just run around its terminating passenger service from Luxembourg. Number 3604 heads along the branch up from the riverside port at Metz after bringing in the 1543 freight from Bettenbourg. Showing off their quite considerable haulage capability is number 3612 with steel and scrap empties from Bettenbourg. The train will change engines here in favour of a Class 215 diesel, which will take the train forward towards Trier. As previously mentioned, the French BB12000s were also very active in the Alsace region of France. In this section we look at the class at work on a variety of freight duties in the northeast. We begin at the station at Blainville on the 30th of August 1993 as number 12034 comes off the nearby stabling point. This locomotive may well have been on one of its last journeys, as it was withdrawn from traffic just 2 days later. Arriving with the train from Strasbourg is 12077. As can be seen from some of the wagons in tow, this train probably conveyed lager from the Kronenbourg brewery situated in the city. Unlike number 12034, this locomotive would see another 5.5 years of active life. Another similar class of locomotive was the BB13000, which lasted until 1994, when number BB13052 was switched off on the 28th of February. Seen here is sister locomotive number 13051, at the rear of this convoy heading for the stabling point. Number 13051 lasted another 5 months in traffic after these pictures were taken. Heading away from the camera through Sarrebourg is number BB12010. South of Strasbourg at Selsta, we see number 12055 hauling BB15062 dead in tow. The date is the 2nd of September 1993, and number 12055 was withdrawn from Lens depot on the 25th of March the following year. This example is seen just north of Chalindrey on the 3rd of September 1993. The first depot to receive the class was Moulins, near Charleville-Mézières. Here, 12037 is seen as a static exhibit, not far from the depot in August 1998. The locomotive had been withdrawn from traffic just 9 months before. Early on the morning of the 13th of May 1998, number 12124 approaches the station at Paigny-sur-Meuse, with a stone train from the quarry at Saint-Germain-sur-Meuse. After running around its train, the locomotive shunts the wagons into the nearby yard. Two of the class were employed on shuttling trains along the branch to Saint-Germain. The second locomotive on this occasion was number 12011. BB124 is seen about to depart with train 471167, the 0808 from Pargny to Varangeville. The same train passes through Toul. We are now just to the north of the marshalling yard at Woippy, close to the outskirts of Metz. Heading south in the company of BB16500 is 12073. Arriving at the yard from the south is 12070, with train 431802, the 0943 from Rodange. Approaching the yard from the south on the 27th of August 1998 is number 12101 with a freight from Bainage. We are now just a few kilometres north of Woippy Yard at Mézières-les-Metz as 12114 heads south with a freight from Gremberg, the loco having taken the train forward from Apache. A superb sight next as 12069 lays down the power at the head of this train from Gremberg. By August 1998, the fleet size had dwindled to just 57 examples, with most diagrams being centred in the northeast of the country. One locomotive which stood out from the rest was number 12035, which was fitted with mini-snowploughs. Here the locomotive runs through Rodange station on the 26th of August 1998. The end came on the 28th and 29th of December 1999, when the final 12 examples of this popular class of locomotive were taken out of service. One of the 12 was BB12013, seen in happier times heading through Thionville on the 27th of August 1998. Meanwhile, those keen on seeing the Flatirons, as they were also called, needed to travel to Luxembourg, where they remained in action for another 5 years after the demise of their French cousins. We begin at Bettenbourg in August 1998 as number 3607 arrives with the 0600 from Luxembourg City. The route where you would see most of the class operating was the southern main line from Luxembourg to Bettenbourg, Esch-sur-Alzette, Bettenbourg and onwards towards Aulnoye in France. Having travelled to Rodange and back, number 3607 returns with the 0642 from Rodange to Luxembourg. The 0622 departure from the capital city is seen arriving behind number 3617. A good place to see the class working on freight traffic was the station at Noritsange, the first town situated to the west of Bettenbourg. The last member of the class rounds the curve with a train for Belval-Usine. Number 3603 is seen returning to Bettenbourg on the 18th of May 2001. Fifteen of the remaining 18 examples, numbers 3614 and 3615 had already been withdrawn due to accident damage, were diagrammed each day by the time this picture was taken in 2001. Number 3602 heads east, again on the 18th of May. Around 2 freight services were seen each hour, with the Class 3600 generally providing the power. This is the station at Chifflange on the 13th of June 2002. The locomotives were still regularly seen in France, with services from Luxembourg to Aulnoye. Here, number 3602 arrives with the 1718 from Luxembourg City. The train will terminate here. just 2 of the class were prematurely withdrawn as a result of accident damage. One was number 3615 in an accident at Bellevaux in 1970, and number 3614 seen here in an accident that occurred on the 6th of April 1997. Our pictures record the locomotive pausing at Bellevaux-sur-Louvre in August 1998. The station here is at the summit of a long climb, and many of the heavier freight services require the use of banking locomotives. Having completed one such duty, number 3609 returns to Belval-Usine. We now move west and to the town of Rodange, another location which has steel manufacturing facilities. Heading towards the camera on the 14th of June 2002 is number 3618. This locomotive was later withdrawn and cut up in September 2004. In similar circumstances as happened with the French BB12000s, a delay in accepting new replacement locomotives meant that the 3600s had a state of execution, with 10 locos still in traffic by the end of 2002. One of the 10 to survive, number 3609, has just arrived in the yard with a trainload of steel bars from Bettenbourg. New German-built rolling stock was ordered by Luxembourg Railways at the end of 2002 and would see the end of the 1960s built Wegmann stock, which was used extensively throughout the network. Viewed from the east end of Rodange Yard, number 3618 hurries by with a set of empty wagons for Bettenbourg Yard. Numbers 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 17, 18 and 19 were the locos left in traffic at the end of 2002, where they covered 7 diagrams each day. This is Pétange Station on the 28th of April 2004 as number 3602 arrives with the 1209 from Luxembourg to Aulnoye. This locomotive was to be the last example left in traffic when it hauled a series of service trains on the 28th of March 2005 as a final goodbye. Most of the class ceased operations on the run-up to Christmas 2004, with 4 members of the class kept in reserve for their final 3 months. The last scheduled services were operated by the class on the 15th of March 2005. We say a last goodbye to the class now, as we see number 3602 heading east of the station on the afternoon of the 28th of April 2004. Thankfully, this locomotive, together with number 3608, were saved from the cutter's torch and have lived on into preservation. Finally, we travel back across the border to France, as we finish with what is arguably the mightiest of French electric locomotive classes, the CC14100s. Built along with their cousins, the CC14000s, in the mid-1950s, these dinosaurs of traction were employed on the heaviest freight services along the newly electrified main line between Dunkirk and Thionville, hauling coal, iron ore, steel and mixed freight services. Arriving on the depot at Woippy on an August day in 1996 is number 14131. Weighing in at 127 tonnes, they only have a power output of 1,860 kilowatts, or around 2,493 horsepower, but have a very high tractive effort of 422 kilonewtons. They are able to restart a 3,600 tonne freight train on a rising gradient of 5 mm over every metre travelled. Unlike the CC14000s, which had met their end by 1981, the 14100s were much more reliable and remained in traffic longer, although a gradual withdrawal of the class took place from 1984 onwards. By the beginning of the 1990s, their low maximum speed of just 60 km per hour meant that they were restricted to working trains in the Thionville area of France, particularly on the line to Bainage via Creutzwald. Out of a fleet of 102 examples, just 8 remained in traffic at the start of 1997. Lumbering along the main line at Kuntzig, between Thionville and Bainage, is 12129. After entering traffic on the 1st of November 1955, it was withdrawn at Thionville Depot on the 3rd of February 1997. Passing through Benage is 14195, heading the 0803 from Woippy to Forbach. In order to mark the end of this class in service, a rail tour was organised on the 20th of April 1997, featuring 14183, which toured lines in the area. After working a freight between Benage and Creutzwald, number CC14146 arrives light engine and marks the end of our brief look at this most impressive of French electrics. Appropriately, as the locomotive rolls by, it is passed by BB12000 on a freight for Woippy Yard north of Metz. We hope that you have enjoyed our look at the French and Luxembourg monocabine electric locomotives.